What's going on, everybody in the building, man? It's your boy Tony D2 Wild, checking in once again back with the bang of the day, guys. And today we have the SIG Sauer P229 Legion. In my opinion, bro, this may be one of the most beautiful. Let's make sure she is totally clear. One of the most beautiful pistols that SIG has ever put out in its entire history, okay? Of course, you got the P226, and then you have the P229, which is the compact version of the P226. This one in particular, the 229 at least, is called the M11A1. And then you have also the P228, which is pretty much, from what I've learned, is the M11, and then you have the M11A1 being the 229, which I've heard the main differences of the two, 228 and 229, is a lot to do with the slide. One, I believe the 228 is made out of like a carbon steel, where this is made of a steel billet. Feel free to chime in down below in the comment section on that, but there's been different variants of the 229 since then, of its original inception, and then what SIG has put out over and over. But this one in particular is, of course, the Legion version. Now, the overall, or first ever, I would say, 229 also was the double action, single action with the decocker. But what we are shooting here today is the single action only version of it. And I definitely wanted to get my hands on the double action down the road as well, to kind of see the differences of the two. But I definitely wanted to try the single action first because I love the single action trigger on my 226. And I've tried the decocker like in the gun store, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's just a lot of sponginess, whereas this one, it does have a little bit of like a little bit of leeway, a little bit, but then you hit a nice wall, and then you have the flat face trigger, not a hair trigger YouTube, but a flat face trigger that hits the wall, and then you have an overall crisp overall trigger pull. It's just something that I wanted to try out, but I definitely want to try both at the end of the day. But with that being said, the P229 Legion is an extraordinary gun. I love the color of it. I love the overall look. It's a sexy gun, and it's a gun that, in my opinion, like I kind of have thought about potentially trying to carry it. Reason why I say that though is because, I mean, we are in the time right now, and I'm still like a fairly new gun enthusiast. I always loved guns, but diving deep into gun culture and being a part of it, and looking at every single release and every single cycle, right? I notice guns have a cycle, kind of like how sneakers have a cycle, right? And from what I'm seeing right now, like we're in this cycle of every gun with a comp, you know, there's times when shotguns were a thing, times when bolt guns were a thing, time when wheel guns were a thing, and all these things kind of just revolve, right? And one thing also that I feel like we are currently in is just the overall steel framed guns over and over being produced by a lot of these companies out here. I mean, SIG got their brand new P320 steel frame came out like recently, or it's gonna be coming out. You got the PDP steel frame that just released. You got Smith & Wesson with their steel frame guns overall. But with that all being said, you know, the 299, this particular Legion, was a steel frame out the gate. But the reason why I'm even bringing it up is because a lot of people would, you know, typically say like it's too heavy. This particularly, in my opinion, is not too heavy compared to a Glock 19. The overall like length and size, I mean, they pretty much match up pretty good for the most part, length, width, and all that. But there is a difference, of course, when it comes to the weight. But the weight is not an issue with me whatsoever. This one in particular, of course, the P229 does feature a 15-round magazine, and I think you get two additional ones that go, you know, in the box when grabbing it. So you got two 15-round mags, you got a good amount of capacity along with that. You have a nice Cerakote of that SIG Legion Cerakote. You have the option of running a dot with the optic cuts, something that's kind of new and featured on the 229 because previous Legions did not have the optic cut. Now they do. We're running on this particular one, this is the Delta Pro. This is the Romeo X Pro, not the compact version, but this is not the enclosed version as well. This is the open emitter version, which runs fabulously. I love though the way the gun shoots, the way the gun handles. I did not have an issue with the gun shooting it. I didn't have any sort of failures of feed or anything like that, or anything out of the ordinary. One thing though I will say that this gun, I guess I don't like, or the difference of this gun to more modern guns, is it does have an extremely high bore axis. So like when shooting it, it's so much gun above my wrist, whereas a lot of guns nowadays are trying to get more and more like where when you're shooting, everything is more in line. With this gun in particular, there's so much meat and so much gun above the wrist, so when it's sliding back, it just has a more bigger felt recoil than other guns out, I guess, or you know, in general, even like a Glock. Like it's not as much. Like right here, this all you got is this the slide, but with this you got like a lot of just meat and potatoes of gun and stuff. Feels like it's a high bore access. Okay, that's just my part, and that's how it feels to me. But it's not nothing that's like a deal breaker. I'll tell you that. It's not a deal breaker. The grips, I love them. I love the Legion emblem on both sides. Of course, like I stated before, single action only. So with that being said, you have safety. If you want to leave it cocked with the safety on, or however you want to do it. Some people don't like that. Some people like the decocker, and some people will tell you if you want to have this gun for a target gun, target practice, single action only is the way to go. If you want to run this and carry this gun, it's better to have the overall decocker that allows you to run it decocked instead of having it locked and cocked with the safety on, which I definitely agree with. Hence why, you know, the Beretta, I love that with the decocker that it has. Some of the specs here though, right? So we have the specs pretty much line up with the gun. And when I mean that by as in the decocker, double action, single action versus the single action only, they pretty much line up as far as the specs go. The main difference is the action. So the caliber 9mm, 3 15-round mags, sights are X-ray. The RX footprint is the Pro, like the Delta Point Pro. Compact pistol size, overall length is 7.4 inches. Overall width is 1.5 inches. Overall height is 5.4 inches. The barrel length is 3.9. The weight is 31.1 ounces. Sight radius is 5.7 inches. A SIG rail on the bottom for the accessory rail right there, which is, I mean, it's pretty Picatinny 19x13 standard in my opinion. This one is a single action only. Trigger type, it says PSAIT, which I think that's for the double action, single action. This is like a flat face. The typical trigger that is featured on a SIG. It's like the P365. Feels a little bit different slightly, but it has the overall like angle and shape of that, but it doesn't feel as that springy and spongy as that. It's a little bit more crisp in my opinion. Legion gray carbon steel barrel. Frame is an alloy, so you have an alloy frame and then a slide of stainless steel. So stainless steel slide in an alloy frame. Optics ready, and yeah, those are some of the specs along with it. I put a good couple of hundred rounds through it. I didn't put 1,000 because I wanted to shoot this, and then I'm probably gonna try to see about doing a follow-up alongside with a double action, single action, and kind of comparing the two and seeing how I feel. But this is definitely a gun that like I wouldn't mind carrying, but I'll be honest, like, you know, and somebody gonna even say like, you know, it's a Legion, it's a safe queen. Like I don't be looking at stuff like that. Like I actually just shoot the guns and get them dirty and all the above. Like I don't play around with this. So it is a Legion, but hell, I carry a P365X macro. The P365 AXG Legion or whatever, the macro version, that's a Legion. I carry that as well. I don't care if it's a Legion or not, I'll carry it, you know? So to each its own, but overall, it's a very solid gun. I just wanna do some more shooting with it as well, but I like the look of this more than the 226 in my humble opinion. It's the 226, don't get me wrong. It's just a compact version of it. So I ain't trying to knock it and make it seem like it's different there, but it's kind of like, you know, do I prefer a AR-15 16-inch or, you know, 10.5? It looks a little smaller, but it looks sexier. I don't know, it just is what it is. So I kind of feel the same way when it comes to the 229, and you know, she's sexy. With that being said, I ain't gonna lie, if I had to pick between this 226 and this, I'm going with this baby right here, which we gotta do a follow-up on her. Ooh, that trigger's different. Ooh, but she do hit different, bro. Stay tuned for this one, because we definitely wanna bring this one back out very soon, and check out the brand new reserve version, right? So yeah, guys, let me know you guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. SIG P229 Legion in full effect. I know it's been out for a long time, but I wanted to talk about it, so yeah, peace.